Yes, this is a GAP4 presentation. I'm going to be showing the overseas version of the application. The overseas version deals with exchange rate mechanism for the foreign missions to do their work. I'm going to log it down as a trainer. Yes, there are 10 modules. I'll start with the administrator. The administrator has all the modules, all the items required to be able to do transactions. For example, the vendor records, where you enter all your vendors. You just put in the name of the vendor and example, APC Corporation. I can say it's will be paid by check and it's an expenditure venture vendor and submit. Now it tells me, every form tells me what is required to complete the transaction. Let me put Abuja here and FCT and the file number and I can submit. So the vendor is there, ABC Corporation. And the same thing, you can put a staff record, all the staff in the missions. You can enter their name and there's salary and other records. Just as an example, and you put all the information, staff type, is it a home base or local staff, and you have the groups, tell you whether they have groups there or not. Staff file number will be required, the station, there's only one station here, so we can select that, will be paid by check, and then you can put in the, the salaries of each item, each person. If it's home based, they probably pay for the service. If it's local, they probably pay salaries. And you can put all the apply for insurance and other items. You can put the deductions and all the required items. In order for them to show up in payroll, you have to mark it as payroll and submit. So I just created a star. Now, if you're doing direct deposit, that means you just upload your record to the bank to execute direct deposit. You can come in here and add the bank information of the staff. You can just select the staff or the vendor, anybody. You can put it there, bank, and you can put the routing number, the account number, and the account type. And submit. When you do transactions, again for this vendor, it will automatically put the transaction on the list. I'll get to that later. You see how it's done. GAP4 has a complete chart of accounts based on GIFMIS, the federal government chart of accounts. You can activate whichever one you want to use in your mission by just searching for it. You can look for refreshment and meals, for example. You search, and then you can see that it's been activated for expenditure and to show up in all your reports. The setup bank accounts, we have all the banks in Nigeria and some countries that we've installed GAP4. You can add your new bank if it's in a new country. You can add the bank, and once you add the bank, you can now create your records. I think here we're using Lancor Bank. I think that's what we're using, right? And you can see in Lanco Bank, we have created all these accounts. You have the capital, overhead, revenue, personnel. I even have overhead in Canadian dollars. Once you've registered the bank accounts, you can now create a cash book. We've created some of the cash books. We just go into the form, you select the station, and based on GIF you select the source, where's it coming from, the bank name should show up. As the bank that you registered, you put the information and you enter your opening balance. You can specify the currency that that account is opening and you open your exchange rate. Now, every month, the FA is required to open the month for transactions. Here, I think the last month we opened is June. We can go in here and open July. And we can put the date, will be the last date of July, and hit submit. Once the month is open, you can now go inside the month and apply the rates. The USD will be 0.0033. Now, this is the rate that will be applied to all transactions relating to those cash books. I think, I'm not sure, I just put that there, as a rate. So we're ready to do transactions in July. And you have the, if you miss any of the exchange rates, you can always go into the add edit and adjust it, change the rates if you believe the rate is wrong. Year-end close is used at the end of the year. These are where all the options are created, like the staff departments. You can come in here and create the group. That's the administrator. Now, in expenditure transactions, this is where you have your departmental number register. You can pretty much register a debtor number for any payments that you want to make. So here we can see there's a payment going on in July. The debtor number for each station starts from 001 till the end of the year. But for the cash book, the voucher starts from 001 every month. So that's, and from here, you can select the name of the vendor or the payee. The staff names and everything will show up in there. You can select it and you can select the subhead that you want to pay. Let's assume that this is computers. You just type it in and it comes up and you can submit. So you have it. And we've registered it. And once you register a debtor number, you can go in and either enter the invoice or go straight to voucher and create it. I'm just going to go to the voucher and create it. Create payment voucher. That's the one I just registered as a customer. In the voucher creation process, if you had entered the invoices prior to approval, you will see the list of invoices that have the same subhead. Otherwise, you can just go to add a new invoice. And I can take the vendor. I can add the date and the amount. Let's say it's 1596. And the payable subhead should be goods and services. Okay, it's asking me that when I open the month, I had already logged in. So I need to log out. and then come back in. So I can use the month. Oh, I can just use, uh, just for moving this transaction, I'll use June. And the payable will be goods and services, and I can submit. When I close, the form automatically refresh and look for that invoice. Now it's there. I can select, post select, and the value is now in the voucher. And you can see the rates and the Naira conversion. I can select the AIE, put my narration, uh, the system will do a spell check. And once the narration is in there, I can submit and print the voucher. This is the complete voucher. You can send it to the printer and it will print to the 5.5 form. And that's it. The voucher is created. You can print it and close this. I will go in and do the payment. Check number. You create the check. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna change it to for now. And I can select it's showing if I want to pay partially, I can override this amount, but now we're paying the full amount. And I can add who's making the payment, submit. I can print the check. And that's it. That's a complete transaction. We'll close it. By doing that, the transaction has been added to the cash book and all the reports that are required. I'm going to go and wages and salaries follows almost the same point. You register the debtor number, you register all the staff for a specific department, and you go in and create a payroll voucher and you do the payments. It follows the same process. Consular revenue, you have the form where you can enter the money orders or payments from Nigerians clients that comes in. You specify what they were trying to do, and you can see the report here that will tell you all the transactions that have happened. And it tells you you can open and edit the transaction if it's not being used in a paying in form. This is the paying in form. You can create as many paying in forms based on the trips from the collector, and this will tell me the number of vouchers available to create a paying in form from. It's showing there is one. That date I can select, post select. It gives me the amount. I can put my narration and submit. And here is the payment form. That's a payment form. It prints into the 5-part form like the voucher. And it's exactly what your payment form looks like. From here, you can go to create a TRV. I'm just going to select June. If you had more than one payment form for the TRV, all of them will show up, and you can select all the ones that you want to make up that TRV. The rate is there, and the Naira is showing, and we can go from here and say, put the narration. We need to put a complete narration, but I'm just typing to save time right now. And you can print the receipt. When you print the receipt, you get a copy of the payment form and the TRV receipt. That's the receipt, and that's the payment form. Treasury receipt itself, or receipts from the account in general, or other transactions, it follows the same way. You create a payment form and you create a TRV. And you can see in every page you have the 3 buttons where you can edit the transaction or run the report. Asset transactions for your store, you can run the inventory receipt or the inventory issues, and you can run the reports. The same thing happens for the PPE. You can see the unprocessed invoices. You bought a car or you bought any equipment, you can register it, you can run the report. And here on a monthly basis, you can run the depreciation and post them to the general ledger. Transactions manager is where the FA can come in and edit any transaction that cannot be done by the accountant or the local staff. You can see has the debtor number, payment voucher payments, vendor invoices, and here's where the FA or a senior accountant will do the bank reconciliation at the end of every month. Once you do your reconciliation, you should be able to see your cash report and your bank recon report, and then you can run your trial balance. And just take a shot at one of the trial balances and see what it looks like. Let's look at May. Here's the transaction. The subhead is shown. It tells us we received capital is there. The objective here is just look for the FA to look at all the subheads and the amounts, and if the FA is in agreement with all the transactions, he can go in and close the month. Once the month is closed, then you're ready for the following month. So we can close this, and then this is where you do the AI. When you get an AIE from the headquarters, you can create the receipts, enter all the amounts, and this will control your vote book. This is where the bank direct deposit report is generated at the end of each day. After you've created payments, you can now come here and create a direct deposit report. Sign it, take it to the bank, and the bank will effectuate your payment instructions. The reports has almost all the IPSAS required reports. Once you've closed your transaction for the month, these reports are generated. You have the revenue register, expenditure register. They all have the same format as the IPSAS requirement. I can just run, let's see, one or two of them. Let's look at February. And this tells me the name, description of expenditure, the national chart of accounts, the reference amount, and the cumulative total. And that goes for all the transactions. And that's the same thing with the general ledger, the financial performance, and the financial positions. Some of the old reports are still maintained in the new GAP4, like the revenue returns, the treasury cash book using the old cash base, and the vote book is there, and the vote book by AIE. Internally, you may want to look at the bank statement or the consular receipts and look at all the transactions that are generated on a monthly basis. And the vote book has some of the summaries that the FA can just click like a dashboard to see what's on, what transactions have happened. The vote book, for example, will give you a year to date of all allocations and payments and then give you the balance. I don't think we've entered any allocations in here, which is why you see in the red. If we do, you probably see some greens there. And you can see the cash balance, the subhead report. You can look at all the payment vouchers in the system by just clicking that and look at it. And the same happens to all the items. Any item that is older than 2 years in the system, you'll be able to find them in the archives. And you can see all the buttons that reference the transactions you can find in the archives. That in a nutshell is GAP4 for overseas missions.